Follow the diamond, keep the line centered on the minimap, head toward the pillar of light. Modern games so often are exercises in efficiency. They respect your time, they offer clarity, a constant guiding hand making sure you never stray too far, never feel truly uncertain about the next step. It's a frictionless experience, designed to shepherd you smoothly from Objective A to Objective B. And in a way, it mirrors our optimized lives outside the screen. The desire for the quickest route, the instant answer, the curated feed. There's a certain logic to it, a comfort even. But then, there are other games. Games that seem almost defiant in their refusal to hold your hand. Games where the map might be sparse, cryptic, or non-existent. Where descriptions are vague. Where the objective marker is replaced by, well, nothing but the world itself, sprawling and indifferent to your confusion. These games invite you, perhaps even require you to get lost, to push against opaque walls, to wander down dead ends, to consult flimsy maps and hope the landmarks haven't eroded. Compared to the guided tours offered elsewhere, it can feel daunting, inefficient, even frustrating. So why do we seek it out? Why turn away from the clear path meticulously laid out for us? What mysterious force transforms potential frustration into something compelling, something memorable? It's because these games offer a different kind of engagement. They trust us. They trade the efficiency of the guided tour for the thrill of actual exploration. They ask us not just to follow, but to look, to listen, to learn the shape of the world itself. The joy isn't despite being lost, but often because of it. It's the satisfaction of forging your own path, piecing together the puzzle, and the unique triumph that comes from finding your way after truly losing it. So let's deviate from the quest marker, let's ignore the minimap for a while, and venture into those spaces that reward wandering, uncertainty, and the simple, powerful act of discovery. Let's explore the unexpected joy of being lost. So how do these games compel us to find our own way, to embrace the possibility of going astray? Often, it begins by removing the familiar scaffolding of modern navigation. What remains is the environment, dense with detail, challenging you to shift your attention from the interface directly onto the world's textures, shapes, and sounds. Take the classic journey in Morrowind, which begins with seemingly simple instructions. Head south from the Silt Strider port until you see the Daedric ruin, then turn east towards the mountains. With no guiding arrow, the player must actively scan the alien landscape, identifying landmarks described only in text. Success requires translating abstract directions into concrete movement, noticing the unique silhouette of a ruin or the correct fork in a dusty road. Landmarks transform from simple set dressing into vital navigational beacons, demanding close observation. This reliance on interpretation extends naturally into cooperative ventures like Sea of Thieves. Treasure maps might depict islands stylized, lacking precise "you are here" markers. One player deciphers symbols, comparing drawn coastlines to actual landmasses, while another calls out compass bearings, and a third scans the horizon from the crow's nest for a specific rock formation or shipwreck. Navigation becomes an active dialogue, a shared process of observation and communication where understanding the illustrated clues directly influences the crew's fortunes. This philosophy has deep roots, tracing back to foundational classics. Look at The Legend of Zelda on the NES. Dropped into Hyrule with little guidance beyond "it's dangerous to go alone," players faced a vast grid of screens filled with secrets and dangers. The minimal in-game map and cryptic clues often demanded players rely heavily on their own memory or even resort to drawing intricate maps on graph paper outside the game. Charting this world screen by screen and deciphering its oblique hints was central to the adventure. The same spirit is consciously evoked in modern games like Tunic. Though visually distinct, it echoes the classic Zelda experience by presenting its lore, maps, and even crucial mechanics via collectible pages of an in-game manual, largely written in an untranslatable script. Players must, again, engage in active interpretation, decoding diagrams, cross-referencing map fragments with the isometric world, fostering a similar sense of discovery through decipherment rather than direct instruction. Survival games often integrate this observational navigation directly with consequence. In the long, dark, frozen wilderness, with technology useless, survival can depend on reading the sun's arc, the patterns of snowdrift formed by the wind, or recognizing the subtle trail markers left by previous doomed expeditions. Green Hell's suffocating jungle demands careful attention to the path taken, as the dense foliage quickly erases any sense of direction, making environmental awareness critical for finding food, shelter, and the way back. By minimizing reliance on explicit UI guidance, these games fundamentally shift the player's focus. Attention moves from the abstract overlay onto the tangible details of the environment itself. We learn to notice textures, sightlines, architectural patterns, and subtle environmental cues because we must. This fosters a deeper, more earned intimacy with the game world. It's no longer just a conduit between objectives, but a space demanding interpretation, learning, and genuine understanding through careful observation. But sometimes, the world doesn't just ask you to read it carefully. Sometimes, the world itself seems deliberately designed to confound. Learning to read the world is one thing, but what happens when the world seems architected intentionally to resist easy interpretation? When the space itself twists, loops, and folds, challenging you to make sense of it. This isn't merely about removing signposts. It's about the very geometry becoming a puzzle, where finding a clear path requires more than just looking ahead. From Software's games, particularly the original Lordran in Dark Souls 1, presents a masterclass in this spatial philosophy. Its world is stacked vertically, interwoven with hidden passages, elevators leading to unexpected places, and doors locked from the other side. With no traditional map to rely on, your own memory becomes the sole navigator through its oppressive, initially baffling corridors. You stumble onto perilous ledges, backtrack through hostile territory, often feeling completely overwhelmed. Yet the design rewards this struggle. Opening a shortcut back to Firelink Shrine or kicking down a ladder provides immense relief and slowly builds a mental model of the world's intricate logic. The initial confusion gives way to a profound spatial awareness, earned through perseverance within the labyrinth. This principle is the very backbone of the Metroidvania genre. In sprawling worlds like Hollow Knight's Hollow Nest or Super Metroid's Zebes, progress hinges on exploring vast, interconnected maps, often filled with impassable barriers. Players push into the unknown until blocked, committing dead ends and inaccessible ledges to memory. The cycle of exploration, temporary roadblocks, and returning later with a new power, a double jump, a wall climb, transforms previously insurmountable obstacles into gateways. The satisfaction lies in meticulously uncovering the map's secrets and seeing how previously isolated sections click together. Horror games frequently weaponize confusing level design to cultivate vulnerability. The dense fog of Silent Hill smothers landmarks and conceals threats lurking just out of sight, turning navigation into a tense gamble. Amnesia's oppressive darkness forces careful management of limited light sources, making disorientation a constant, terrifying companion. Coupled with illogical layouts or corridors that seem to loop back on themselves unexpectedly, such spaces prevent the player from ever feeling truly grounded or secure, amplifying the sense of dread and helplessness. And some games push spatial logic further still, embracing the uncanny or surreal. Control's Oldest House defies stable mapping with its constantly shifting interiors and extra-dimensional intrusions. Prey's Talos 1 space station demands three-dimensional thinking to navigate its interwoven decks and hidden maintenance routes accessible through mundane objects. These environments challenge our basic assumptions about how physical space should behave, weaving navigation directly into the core mystery and requiring players to adapt to alien rules. Whether through intricate looping paths that reward memory, gated corridors that demand backtracking, obscuring elements that heighten tension, or surreal geometries that defy logic, intentional spatial complexity forces a different mode of play. It asks more of us than simply following a marker. It requires patience, observation, adaptation, and sometimes a leap of faith into the unknown, trusting that understanding lies on the other side of confusion. But it's not only the physical layout that can leave us feeling adrift. Sometimes the lack of clarity extends to the game's systems, its narratives, its very rules. Navigating confusing physical spaces is only one way games invite us to embrace uncertainty. Sometimes the feeling of being lost isn't about geography at all. It's about being adrift in a sea of unclear mechanics, opaque systems, fragmented narratives, or objectives that simply tell you what, but offer no hint of how. The map here isn't one of terrain, but of understanding. In Lucas Pope's Return of the Obra Dinn, you step aboard a derelict ghost ship armed only with a crew manifest, some drawings, and a magical pocket watch that lets you witness the final frozen moments of a person's death. Your task is to identify all 60 souls and determine their fates. But the game offers virtually no direct guidance beyond this initial setup. You are plunged into dozens of fragmented, out-of-order death scenes scattered across the vessel. Identifying individuals requires meticulous observation of clothing, actions, relationships implied in freeze frames, faint snatches of dialogue in different accents, and cross-referencing everything against the limited information in the manifest. You are quite literally lost in a complex web of cause and effect and identity, slowly piecing together a grim narrative through inference and logical leaps. The satisfaction comes not from following waypoints, but from the click of deduction when disparate clues align to solve a piece of the overarching mystery. This embrace of ambiguity extends into deep simulation games. Titles like Dwarf Fortress or Rimworld often present players with incredibly complex interlocking systems governing everything from atmospheric pressure to individual colonist moods, yet offer minimal handholding. The initial hours can feel like drowning in menus and unexplained variables. Learning occurs through often disastrous trial and error, figuring out crop cycles as your dwarves starve, understanding predator behavior only after losing a beloved colonist, gradually deciphering these opaque mechanics, taming the simulation's chaos through experimentation and hard-won knowledge becomes a central, deeply rewarding progression. Cryptic puzzle games thrive on a similar principle, but apply it to logic itself. In The Witness, you're presented with seemingly simple line puzzles on panels scattered across an island, but the rules governing how those lines must be drawn are rarely explicit. They must be deduced by observing subtle environmental cues or patterns across sets of panels. Baba Is You takes this further, allowing you to physically push around blocks of text that define the game's rules, demanding you understand the logic in order to rewrite it. Success in these games often follow periods of profound confusion where the very language of the puzzles needs to be learned before solutions become possible. This ambiguity also flourishes in sandbox-type games, prioritizing player choice through deep systemic interaction. Titles like Deus Ex or Thief often present clear objectives: steal the artifact, reach the control room, but deliberately leave the method almost entirely open. They drop you into large, complex levels brimming with tools, hidden routes, reactive AI patrols, and environmental elements you can manipulate. This sheer freedom can initially feel like being lost within possibilities. Do you engineer a distraction, find a hidden ventilation shaft, deploy non-lethal gadgets, hack security systems, or perhaps negotiate or fight your way through it? Understanding the interlocking systems, how light affects stealth, how different surfaces carry sound, how AI responds to alarms, and discovering emergent solutions through careful exploration and experimentation becomes the core challenge and reward. Whether it's piecing together a maritime tragedy from frozen moments, mastering intricate systems through trial and error, deciphering the hidden language of puzzles, or navigating the emergent possibilities of a sandbox, this form of lostness challenges us intellectually. It moves beyond spatial awareness. It trusts the player not just to find their way through a space, but to find their way through ideas, systems, and stories. So, after wandering through confusing landscapes and grappling with opaque designs, what is it, ultimately, that makes the struggle feel worthwhile? It's undeniable. The prickle of frustration when you realize you've been walking in circles. The momentary despair staring at an impassable chasm or a puzzle whose rules remain stubbornly confusing. Getting lost, even in a virtual space, isn't always comfortable. It demands patience, it requires effort, it asks us to push through uncertainty when the easier path, the clearly marked route, often beckons. Yet, as we've seen, there's a distinct, enduring appeal woven through these experiences. When games strip away the guiding lines, forcing us to read the shape of the land itself. When they construct intricate looping environments that reward meticulous exploration. When they present us with complex systems or fragmented narratives demanding deduction. They are doing more than just adding difficulty. They are fundamentally changing our relationship with the digital space. These games place a profound trust in our curiosity, in our capacity to observe, learn, and adapt. By embracing ambiguity, they cede a measure of authorship to us. The aha moment when deciphering a cryptic direction, the satisfaction of finally opening that shortcut after hours of struggle. These aren't just points on a checklist delivered by the designer. They feel earned, personal. They become our discoveries, inscribed into our mental map of the world, or perhaps even onto real-world paper. Now, this isn't to diminish the value of clearer guidance in games. There's absolutely a time and place for the well-marked path. When time is short, when we seek pure relaxation or straightforward escapism, or when the focus is purely on the story. That efficiency and clarity serve a crucial purpose, but the joy we find in willingly getting lost offers something different. In a gaming landscape increasingly saturated with optimized paths, the choice to embrace being lost feels like a valuable counterpoint, championing the journey over the destination, the process of figuring things out over simply being told. It taps into that fundamental human drive to explore, to understand, to make sense of the unknown, even when the unknown is crafted from code and pixels. Perhaps the joy isn't strictly in the state of being lost itself, but in the emergence from it. The transition from confusion to clarity, fueled by our own efforts. It's the knowledge that we navigated the labyrinth, we deciphered the clues, we tamed the system, we found our own way. Engaging with games that trust us enough to let us stumble, to decipher, to truly explore, taps into a powerful form of satisfaction. The deep-seated reward that comes not from following instructions, but from understanding. It's a testament to the unique power of interactive worlds that they can offer us this freedom, the freedom to lose our bearings, and in that struggle, realize that the most beautiful stories are seldom found on a paved road.